Welcome to our podcast for dual enrollment. My name's Keira.
My name is Melody, and our topic is going to be how toxic masculinity interacts in modern day society. The reason we decided to speak about this topic is because we both noticed how toxic masculinity is becoming more apparent within our society, specifically influencing the younger generation, cultural norms, and viewpoints on women.
So our first subtopic today is going to be about Andrew Tate, specifically the Andrew Tate mindset and how dangerous the ideas that he shares are. So I will be asking Melody some questions about this phenomenon since she has more knowledge about this topic. So for starters, Melody, could you give us like a general summary about Andrew Tate?
Well, he's a wealthy man that shares his perspectives on how women and men should behave in our society. He shares these ideas on social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, etc. You get it. The problem with the ideas that he shares is that they're incredibly dangerous and misogynistic. Andrew Tate offers advice, and dating advice specifically, and I'm doing air quotes here.
So what type of dating advice does he usually give to men?
His advice is usually summed up as treating women as sexual or financial tools. He describes that committing to one girl is stupid, the concept, since there's more women out there that are higher quality, or so he says.
That's really disturbing. So you mentioned that he advised to treat women as tools and mainly go for higher quality of women. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, Tate has explained that he originally made his wealth from dating several women at a given time, then slowly introducing them to the concept of doing virtual sex work, otherwise known as cam girls.
What the hell? That's so awful.
OMG, I know. But then he describes himself as how he would become their manager once he began working with cam girls. And he mentions how he would have several girls working for him, and then he would simply break up with them once they became full-time cam girls, basically manipulating them and prostituting them out.
So you mentioned how the Andrew Tate mindset is influencing the younger generation of men. Could you elaborate on that?
Well, basically, he runs his own podcast, and his viewers tune in. And, a majority of his viewers are middle school-aged boys to, young adult men. And they're the ones who are directly supporting him, and basically his diehard fans.
So, could you explain how he has influenced these fans of his? Could you give us some examples?
There's been, several instances of his fans tweeting alarming things, specifically on Twitter, to the point where they ended up getting his Andrew Tate's account banned, too. But these tweets replicate 1950s ideology of men being superior to women and women being sexual vessels for men to indulge in, that our only purpose is to create children and basically just have sex with them.
Ew. So, have you witnessed any of this? Have you had any personal experience with this?
Actually, yeah. I have a cousin who's 14 in middle school. I overheard him and his friends discussing how Andrew Tate is an alpha male and how being alpha male is super cool.
What is an alpha male?
Don't get me started. It's this dumb idea created from a researcher who observed male wolves taking dominant roles within their wolf packs, but it's not even correct, since that same researcher realized his mistake and discovered that wolves work in pairs and tend to work together in a pack. So it'd be a male and a female wolf, not just the male wolf. So he spent his entire lifetime attempting to create his error, but modern day society views it as being a dominant man.
Oh, I actually heard about that before. I've seen videos about it, and where men think that male animals always lead the pack and control everything. Yeah, I don't feel like that's accurate, because I've seen some documentaries that explain that females are the ones that actually hold the power within a pack and make plans and decide who gets to come in the pack and all that stuff.
Exactly. I mean, I've literally seen similar, but men view it as being true, so they literally created tiers of male hierarchy. It's wild and ridiculous.
Tiers, do you mean as roles?
Yes, there's the alpha, the head of the pack, the sigma, which is essentially the same thing, and I don't even understand the difference really, and then there's the beta, the runt of the litter, or basically being the weak loser one.
Oh, that's weird. Do you think that people actually take this seriously?
Yes, they really try to strive to be the alpha. It's gone as far as men joining alpha boot camps or alpha millionaire clubs, where they literally pay thousands to essentially get degraded, abused, and mistreated just to shape themselves into a alpha male. It's really weird and kind of cultish, if you ask me.
That's really weird. What? Alpha Millionaire Club?
That's a real thing.
I honestly think that these men are trying to use the Andrew Tate mindset as a way to get like their original power over women back, because they feel like inferior to women nowadays, because ever since women got like free rights and like been able to vote, I feel like lots of women have started to branch away from men, feeling as they don't need them anymore. And like, because usually men used to want use women for babies, cooking, cleaning, all of that stuff, but now women like don't even see themselves as like caretakers or mothers anymore, and just like want to be independent.
No, I understand that, and I'm like seeing completely the same, and I honestly do agree. I think that they're just insecure. But speaking of mothers, I know our next subtopic is boy moms, and I know you have a lot to share on this.
Oh, trust me, I do. I have a few stories that I could share. So, to start off, I'm gonna explain what a boy mom is. So, a boy mom is someone who obviously favors her son over like any of her other children that may be like females, or like, and they like basically worship like their son.
Worship? You mean like they're like devoted to them almost?
Yeah, like basically they get really emotionally attached to their sons by being like protective, touchy, and overall like destroying any relationships that their son like may have like with any other girls, like say like a girlfriend, a wife. And then like just picture basically classic overbearing mother-in-law trope.
Ugh, that's so gross. And I can't imagine like actively trying to destroy your son's relationship. But have you had any instances with boy moms?
Yeah, unfortunately I have. So I could tell you this one story. So I was dating this one guy back in middle school, and it was an online relationship, and we were like really close since I knew him for a few years, and we've been talking for a few years. And like one day me and him were just like texting like normal, when all of a sudden he sent me a text saying that his mom was asking for his phone, and like it basically like before he could even like finish explaining, his mom took his phone away and like started texting me, and I kid you not, she was being like really weird. She was like asking me like, who are you, what's your relationship with my son? And then she was like getting really nasty with me and like insulting me, insulting my looks, insulting like how I talk. And she was like saying that I don't deserve her son and whatnot, and that she could like quote unquote treat him better than me, a middle schooler. And it was like really weird, and it weirded me out because I was like, you're a grown woman texting a middle schooler saying that your 12-year-old son could treat you better, like you could treat that child better. And it's just like really she was acting like really possessive with him, and like it was giving like incest.
Ew, what? So she was basically implying that she would be a better girlfriend to her own son. Interesting.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Did you think like, did he think that was off at all, or like did he even mention to you like this is something she does? Like was it literally just out of nowhere?
Like basically I asked him about it when he got his phone back. I was like, why is your mom acting like that? Like that's really weird. And he was like defending her. He's like, you know, my mom, she's like really protective of me sometimes. Sorry if that comes off as weird to you. But it's like he like has a special relationship with his mom, and he can't control that.
Special indeed.
He's like, I can't control like how my mom acts. She's just like really loving to me and stuff, and I'm sorry if your mom doesn't do the same to you. And I'm like, oh,
sorry that your mom is not emotionally okay,
right.
But dude, okay, well, That's so insane, and I just can't believe that. And I'm honestly shocked. And, like, I feel like that, not specifically just boy moms, but I feel like a lot of older women typically are very defensive of any male relatives.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they, like, die hard defend them, and I feel like it's so strange that they're willing to, like, bash any of the female relatives in their family just to protect a grown man or something like that's feelings.
Right. It's like those videos that I've been seeing on TikTok where, like, basically on TikTok where I've seen, like, all these instances of, like, boy moms and how they're, like, treating their daughters compared to the sons, or, like, how they're treating the sons' girlfriends or wives.
Yeah, I don't even know. Can you tell me like any specific TikToks that you saw that involved boy moms? Like anything that was like really crazy, you were like, oh my gosh, oh, you were insane.
Yeah. So for starters, one common TikTok trend that I've been seeing lately is like how these mother-in-laws have been like acting towards the son's fiancés or wives. And basically, like, even when they're like, so like their son's relationship is so far developed, the moms are like still like acting so possessive over them and still like trying to break them up. And I've even seen like some instances where like these mothers would wear white to the wedding, so like knowing that the son's significant other would like make them really upset. And I feel like they use that as a way to like provoke them or upset them essentially.
So basically just taunting them for stealing their son basically, and they're in competition with their son's partner. I've seen similar things on TikTok. I saw a video about a mom talking about the idea of her daughter's future wedding is exciting and makes her happy. Yet her son, who was like 5 by the way, who she clearly favored over her daughters, the idea of his future wedding made her upset and sad since she wouldn't be the only woman in his life. Like, she thought he was her husband or something. And it comes off really predatory almost. Like, they're instilling these ideals into these young men that will later grow up and instill the same ideas into their own sons and wives.
Yeah, like, that's, like, a really common thing. And I've also seen, like, how, like, speaking of, like, sons and daughters, like, how, like, these moms treat their daughters, like, so much differently than the sons, like, where they make the daughters, like, cook, clean, like, they get really mad at them, and, like, basically it's, like, emotional abuse towards the daughters, while they, like, basically still baby their sons, like, for as long as they can, because they're like, oh, he's just a boy. You like, it's that,
oh my gosh, I've heard about that,
like, he's just a boy. It's like
the same excuse of just being like, well, that's just what boys do and everything,
right?
And that's so stupid because it just instills like really toxic and negative ideals into men and women. Like, women will grow up and everything, the younger generation will grow up thinking that it is their job to act this certain way, and that's how you get away with boys committing like heinous crimes and everything. And the excuse is, well, they're just a boy. Like, I've literally seen a newspaper article where an entire town felt guilty for a group of about, like, 20 men. Like, well, some are, like, middle school boys, and some of them were, like, grown men, all raping this one girl who was in middle school. And the entire town felt guilty for the men because their lives would be ruined. And then they implied that the girl deserved it because she would dress provocatively, or so say.
Right, I remember us talking about that in class, saying how like they all raped the girl, like they all had sympathy over the guy, but like they didn't bat an eye towards the girl who actually got raped and was the victim.
I know, and there was a lady in the town who went on record with her whole name on there, essentially saying like that she felt guilty because these men were good men and everything, and now their lives are gonna be ruined. And it's like, you don't think about the life of this girl who's been ruined, and like literally she was being like manipulated into doing all this stuff. Well, blackmailed is the word, because they were threatening to like leak all this stuff about her and everything. It's just a little girl. Like, picture yourself in that situation. What are you supposed to do? But you're taking the side of a grown man who knows better.
Exactly. And it's like, basically, whenever it comes to like men raping women, like, it always seems like the social media sides with the men, like, oh, you shouldn't have worn that, what were you wearing? And it's like, why would it matter what I'm wearing when I'm like, why are you immediately taking the guy's side when I'm the victim? Like, I didn't do anything to ask to get raped.
Exactly.
And it's just like a really sick and twisted mindset that I feel like has been created.
It literally is all about toxic masculinity. Like, it's the whole idea that men are superior than women, yet they somehow cannot control themselves around women, despite the fact that they are, quote-unquote, superior than us. So then they act out, and they do all these crazy things because we essentially just allowed them to get rid of it. Like, it's so bizarre to me and everything. And it's the same thing, like, have you ever heard when men will, like, call freshly turned 18-year-olds fresh meat? Because they're the most purest and the most fertile and everything. Like, what are you talking about? You sound like a predator. Right. You are a predator. Why are you attracted to a freshly turned 18-year-old? What do you guys have in common by any means at all?
Exactly. Like, the age gap is, like, insane. Because, like, I seen so many TikToks where they were like, oh, my boyfriend is, like, 10 years older than me, but it's fine because I feel like my mindset is more mature and I'm just more mature. Like, you're not aware that you are actively getting, like, groomed. Exactly.
Literally. And they think it's normal and everything, and it's not even the fault of these girls. Like, half the time they're brainwashed into these mindsets because a lot of people prefer older men because it's like they consider them, like, gonna take care of you and everything. But you have to think about it, like, and think about this in general. Like, why are these older men attracted to you? Like, what at all do you guys have in common by any means? You guys are growing in totally different generations. And not to mention that, why can he not get women his own age?
Right.
Because they're too mature they're too mature for him to manipulate them properly. Like, he just wants a housewife, something to use sexually and everything.
Or I feel like, another thing is, like, why men go after, like, prey after younger women is because, like, you know, like, as you get older, it's like you look more mature, your boobs start to sag and stuff, and it's like you don't have that young innocence
like
anymore.
That youthfulness about you, right, essentially anymore.
Like, I feel like a lot of men, I've seen a lot of TikToks saying, like, how men prefer women with, like, tiny waists, like, petite bodies,
unrealistic and everything.
Yeah, the unrealistic expectations of, like, women, like, how, like, I want you to have big boobies, but I want you to have natural, a tiny frame.
But I want it all natural, too.
Right.
Natural.
It's just be natural. Like, I want you to have, like, makeup, but I don't want you to actually wear makeup.
And I think this honestly goes along with the porn industry, too, because, granted, the porn industry does take advantage of women and also preys on men in terms of, like, trying to appeal to, like, these disgusting and very, like, violent fantasies in general. But overall, like, it's very bizarre how men claim that they want something, like, very pure, yet they go onto websites like that that are, like, you know, just so, like, disturbing. And it's to the point where Pornhub and everything has been legit banned in some states.
Yeah, that I feel like
and men got upset, really upset.
Men got really upset because of that, which I feel like the porn industry is, like, really unrealistic in that sense, and, like, they favored it towards men and made men have these really high unrealistic expectations of women, where it'd be like, why can't you do this that's happening in the porn video?
Yeah, literally, like, they'll be, like, straight up, like damn near, like, beating these girls and everything, right? And then they'll be like, well, I've literally saw a headline one time of a news article that was talking about it, and it was like, this 12 or 14-year-old boy had choked out a girl during her first kiss because he had saw it in a porn video and thought that's what you're supposed to do.
What?
That's what I'm telling you, dude. And it literally was a case and everything where she said that she felt very uncomfortable, and it's just, think about it, like, that thing is influencing a kid that's literally freshly in middle school. Freshly, what, 14-year-old boy? Yeah, no, not freshly not freshly in middle school, but in middle school, regardless. Like, you're maybe gonna be a freshman by the time you hit, you know?
And
like,
I also feel like that also is, like, a part of the parents' fault, because they're not checking, like, they're not blocking these sites for these kids and stuff.
Not to mention, like, they just think it's part of a boy's natural development, you know? Like, just to essentially, like, indulge in sexual fantasies with little to no care.
Right, like, I feel like, it's really bad, especially, like, okay, I have, like, a really disturbing story, if you want to hear.
I mean, share for our audience.
So, basically, when I was in elementary school, I I used to have like a computer in my room, and my ex stepdad used to come into my room and watch porn actively on the website, and I was like still awake, and I watched it. Like, I watched it while he was watching it, and it was like really disturbing because I'm like, why are you doing this in my room?
And he would be like doing stuff to himself.
I'm not sure, because like he would like just sit there for hours watching it.
Porn addict.
Yes,
I've literally. Okay, first of all, I'm so sorry that happened to you, but we'll address that later. But second thing, I've literally heard stories and everything from women on TikTok talking about how their husbands and everything had porn addictions, and like how this physically took a toll on them to the point where their husband would only use them as a last resort to experience some type of pleasure. And then, not to mention that, like, they were talking about how these men would have like dead looks in their eyes and everything, and the way that porn is so common, like, it is ridiculous to me that it is so common, and that, first of all, you thought that was okay to do. Right. That is insane. Predator. But it's just like, so it's so bizarre and everything how they're basically allowed to have porn addictions and everything, and that's just seen as being normal. That's seen as being okay, and you just have to expect it. And anything else makes you look either like a prude or makes you look like you're insecure and jealous, despite the fact that you just don't want a man to actively be indulging in these really disturbing or really toxic and just overall bad things. Like,
I feel like that also like really plays into like the Instagram bikini models, like how like women always seem to find like their significant other, like their boyfriends, like
liking all these pictures and everything, following all these models,
and whenever they like tell them, they're like, hey, this really makes me uncomfortable, the guys get like really defensive and be like, it's not real, I don't even do this is like
it also plays into that whole thing where they talk about how it's just the biological thing, like it's just biologically in me to be more sexually driven like that, and it's like, no, it's not, it's not. And if you can't control yourself, then honestly you have a problem and you need to be fixed. I don't know, like the same thing that they do for pedophiles and everything, when they like, like give them those pills like to make their sexual like appetite, I guess, if that makes sense, decrease and everything. Like, if you can't control yourself, you are a dangerous person and you cannot be allowed around other people. Because how far does it go before you literally decide that you can't control yourself now and you suddenly need a release now and you're just gonna attack anyone on the street?
That's what I'm saying. And that like reminds me of like one of my exes. So basically, I used to date this guy, and he was like, he says like, oh, I'm really like sexually active unlike you, so I need to like fill my sexual needs more than you, and blah blah blah. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like is it really that hard to control it?
You really can't control yourself?
Exactly.
Like, honestly. And it's pathetic, because it's basically that whole toxic masculinity thing again, where it's like the whole example, like back to the Andrew Tate mindset, where he basically just said that men need a constant drive, they need a constant supply of women to like basically come in and out of their stable, he said, quote unquote, like as if women were animals. And that literally implies that you consider women to be animals and everything just for your use. And that's so insane to me. I don't even know how to get into all that.
Right. Like, that doesn't, like, how do you just, I feel like some men see women just like as a slab of meat on the side of the road.
They really do.
Like,
they really do. I literally have experienced men and everything staring me down in public while their wives and their sons and daughters, or in general their family, were right beside them, just staring me down in a sexual manner. And it frustrates me, because it's literally just like, look what you're doing and everything, because of the whole like prominent culture being like, oh, young pure virgins and everything. And I hate my wife jokes and everything. You literally act like that. There was a case, I forgot who it was. I think it was on Judge Judy or something. But it was on one of those judge reality TV shows where the security guard got joked that he like hated his marriage and everything because he had like this depressing look when he talked about his wife. He ended up stabbing her later on.
What?
On the news. Yeah, he stabbed her later on and he got arrested and everything because he hated his wife, apparently. Do you see what I mean? Like, those I hate my wife jokes go further than just a simple joke. It is not a joke. Why would you... Why?
That also like reminds me of like this one study I've seen where like especially like during football season, like where men like
get more aggressive.
Yes, like the abuse rate like grows higher during football season because they use the woman as like
an
release
outlet,
for their anger.
Literally. That's so insane to me. Like, you cannot control yourself, because men, like, if you have anger, and I don't think, you know, having anger issues, you should be able to control yourself regardless of gender, don't get me wrong. But if you're a man and everything having anger issues, that's just seen as normal because you're just getting your frustrations out and everything.
Right.
But if you're a woman who has anger issues, you're seen as being, you know, I'm not gonna say it, but, you know, a B word and everything, a female dog. And that's what I'm saying. And it's literally just, like, that's so insane to me that you literally cannot control yourself to the point where you have physical outbursts. Like, personally, me in my own life, I have literally experienced male relatives punching the walls and everything. Leaving holes in the walls because they're so angry. And then when I would be like, why? It was just like, well, I was angry. You can't control yourself? Right, you're a grown man frightening children and everything, frightening people who you consider weaker than you. You take advantage of that.
Right. That also, like, reminds me, I have, like, a lot of stories. So, like, basically, this is, like, with the same ex-stepdad who...
Oh, my God, lock this man up! Lock this man up!
That watched, like, porn in my room.
Oh, dear.
And basically, like, this was, happened middle school, like, 8th grade, where we moved to, like, a different apartment. And my grandpa's new, wife... I'll get to that part in a little bit as well.
Oh, dear.
It's, like, basically, she wanted, my ex-stepdad to be kicked out because he's like a freeloader and stuff, and my mom like went up to him and she's like, hey, I need you to like get out, you can't live here anymore. And he literally pulled out a knife on her and he's like, I'm not getting out of this house, I take care of Keira, all of this, blah blah blah. And
Sir, you really don't.
I literally stepped out of my room and saw the knife pointing at my mom, and I felt, like, scared for my life. I was like, what are you doing?
I mean, I don't blame you. Imagine how frightening that would be and everything. Like, men who literally cannot control themselves are dangerous. They're dangerous. And the fact that that's just seen as being normal, like, I literally have personally witnessed experiences, too, like, where I've seen, like, crazy shit. Oh, I didn't mean to curse. I am so sorry, Miss Kate. I am so sorry. I'm sorry, Miss Kate. Okay, well, I've seen crazy stuff where I've seen, like, men and everything in my family literally using axes to chop doors down in our home because they were so angry that they wanted to get through the door to attack another man in my family. It is so insane. And it's ridiculous, and I just don't know how, like, we've allowed this to be so prominent in our culture, considering the fact that this is so insane, and like so many crimes are just committed by men just because they cannot control themselves. Like,
that also, like, brings me back to the fact, like, I feel like, like, let's go back to the fact that men, like, prey on younger women, but I also feel like they also, like, prey on, like, specific races.
Oh, they really do. They really do. And it happens a lot if you think about it with how they also, like, categorize different races, if that makes sense. Like, if you're seen as anything not being white, and then you're or at least very light-skinned and white passing, you're automatically seen as being very promiscuous,
right?
Very, you know, fast, some people say. And that's so insane to me, because it's really just, like, you don't even consider yourself doing anything. Like, for me, personally, you know, I'm not dumb, you know, I know my body is more mature, and it has always been more mature ever since I was a little girl. And I've literally experienced that same thing. And because I was Hispanic, I feel like a lot of people honestly thought that I was going to end up being a teen pregnancy. Because that's what's expected out of my community. Just become teen pregnancies, because that's what men...
Right. That also, like, so bringing it back to my grandpa, I feel like, he's, like, an older man, and he went after my, well, I guess she's now my step-grandma, and she's a younger woman. Like, she's, like at
how
least,
much younger?
Like, 20-year age gap.
Oh!
And she's Filipino.
Oh!
Because I've seen, like, TikToks
where... like, trophy wives, almost, essentially. Like, you know, foreign wives to show off, kind of thing.
Like, it reminds me of that, 90 Day Fiancé type thing.
Oh my gosh, like, I'm thinking of Eddie from 90 Day Fiancé. I'm sorry, keep going.
But it's, like, reminds me, I've seen, like, these TikToks saying, like, where these white males, like, prey on, like, always seem to go after, like, Filipino or Asian women, because
they see them as being petite, docile, and being very, like, subservient almost. Like, it's like the whole exact stereotype and fetishization of Asian women being very, like, docile and being very, like, for the family kind of people. And that's obviously just, like, it's infantilization too, if you think about it.
It's like
fetishization.
Yeah.
Don't worry, take your time. But it's not even just that, it's also infantilization. Like, why I've seen this so many times in, like, toxic masculinity, where they prioritize all these very, like, almost, like, very childlike demeanors and traits in women and everything. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I love my childish activities. You know, I act very childish, too. But I'm saying, like, very physical things and everything. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, no leg hair or anything. Always shaven. No body hair whatsoever.
Right.
Very soft voice. Very, very, like, childlike appearance.
Like, that brings back to, like, the unrealistic expectations of what they held of women.
Exactly. Like, it's like, I'm not trying to get gross here, but it's like that whole, like, freshly turned 18 tag on, you know, Pornhub and anything. Like, those are exact things that reflect that, and that's so, like, predatory. And the fact that we just allow men and everything to straight up target girls in our communities and everything that are as young as elementary school. I was getting hit on by grown men in elementary school.
No, same. It's, like, really disturbing, and, like, it, like, creates that mindset where, like, oh, this is normal.
Yeah, because, like, they can't control themselves, or they're biologically driven and everything. Right. Like, what, honestly, and it's that same phrase, have you heard, that's, like, if she's old enough to bleed, she's old enough to breed?
No, I've heard about that.
I don't get too TMI here, I'm sorry, everyone. But I got my period in 4th grade middle school. I mean, 4th grade middle school. 4th grade elementary school. So it's literally just, like, think about that. Like, you're basically implying that you're attracted to a 4th grader.
Right. Like, you're attracted to somebody, like, from elementary school to middle school, because that's, like, the time frame you get your period. And that's, like, if you're old no.
It's disgusting, dude. Like, it's like, I don't even care that some people say it's a joke. Like, what is honestly funny about that? Like, I don't, if I was hanging out with somebody, and I'm not saying I hang out with people like this, I don't hang out with people like this, but if I was hanging out with somebody and they're like, oh, I'm trying to get with this, like, middle school kid and everything, and we're right now in high school, I would be like, what do you guys have in common? You're a predator. What do you have in common?
That reminds me of this TikTok, where they were like, it was like a post where, like, oh yeah, this middle school boy is taking me to prom, guys. And I'm like, that's a middle schooler. I doubt he even know what prom is.
It's just gross and everything. It's so bizarre. Or it's like that whole, like, super senior thing.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
The super senior, like, I've seen so many TikToks where they're like, where's my hug at? And then...
And they really act like that and everything because they just want to get with younger girls, and it's like, oh my gosh. Like lock this man up. Like, you're about to be a grown man. Why are you with somebody who's freshly out of middle school?
Right. And it's like, you're about to graduate, like, if you're not already held back.
And how do some men, like, I know what's getting toxic masculinity, but how do some men feel so comfortable dating women who are, like, I'm super young and everything, like, you don't have to be their daughter. Like, I'm not like this, guys. I'm not like this. But my boyfriend is technically younger than me and everything, and even then I was hesitant because I was like, oh my gosh, am I like a creep or something? And I was literally asking people's opinions, and I was like, is this weird? And everyone reassured me it wasn't weird because we're literally, like, about the same age and everything is totally fine. But then, like, I literally overheard grown men, like, bragging in fact that they have, like, younger wives and everything, or younger girlfriends, and it's just like, so you are attracted to the advanced life state of somebody. That's what you're implying. Or, like, dating, like, freshly college girls and everything. Like, those girls just got out of high school.
Like, right, that's disgusting, actually. And it's, like, that also kind of brings it into, like, sugar daddies.
Oh my goodness! It's, once again, that whole thing where, like, the idea is men are supposed to provide and everything, and in return, you have to do things.
Right, like, you have to, like, give your body, and, like, I've seen, like, men, like, pay thousands of dollars just to, like, take somebody's virginity.
It's so disgusting. And then not even just that, I'm losing my train of thought here, not even just that, it's just so it's so bizarre and everything. Like, why are you obsessed with purity culture and toxic masculinity? Because, and also, purity culture is so bizarre because I literally heard men before being like, oh, if a girl has never done anything with anybody, that must mean she's a prude, must mean she's boring and everything, I want to freak, you know?
Right, like, I've seen, I keep saying I've seen a TikTok.
Don't worry, we've all seen a TikTok before about
like, I've seen a TikTok where, like, this woman was, like, bragging about how, she was like, oh, I haven't had that phrase where my cherry popped?
Ew, and that's so stupid because your cherry can pop from anything. Your cherry can pop from riding a bike?
Yes, I've heard about that. Like, I literally had my cherry pop before, and then, like, I used to, like, have men ask me, like, have you had your cherry pop yet? When I was, like, in middle school, and you're, like, 18 asking a middle schooler that.
Ew, that's so disgusting. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's so cruel. There was, I forgot which billionaire it was, but it was some music star, like, rapper or something.
Uh-huh.
And he admitted to the fact that if his son started having sex early on, he would be proud of his son and everything. And his son was like a middle schooler.
What?
And he would be proud of that. He said he'd be proud of his, especially older women. But then, when I heard about the whole thing with his daughter, he actually took her regularly to the gynecologist to get hymen checked, to ensure her hymen was intact, to make sure she wasn't having sex before marriage.
Oh my, that's disgusting.
Purity culture. That's what I'm telling you.
No, that also plays a lot into, like, religion and stuff.
Oh my goodness, don't even get me started on toxic masculinity and religion. Like, it's so bizarre how, like, a lot of religions and everything will, like, shield men from any potential, like, I guess, like, wrongness they could do and everything. But they're so quick to judge a woman, or they're so quick to, like, consider a woman, like, as sinning. Like, I've literally seen, like, specifically in Christianity, I've literally seen, like, my own family members make excuses for men and everything under the name of God, but then, like, if, you know, a woman does something differently, it's so strange. And I think that honestly did make me lose my faith. I don't believe in anything, because I just think that it's so hypocritical.
Right. Like, I feel like it's just, like, it's really disgusting.
It is. So, have anything else to share?
No, I think I've shared everything I had to say.
I think we shared everything you had to say. Thank you for listening to our podcast. And thank you, Miss Kane, for listening in. Sorry, this is so long.
Miss Kane.
We're sorry we cursed. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.